Hey there, this is Katherine Cartwright. Welcome. I've got a video using a new set from Diamond Press. It's a K-Cup carrier set. It came with these two large sets of stamps, and I'm going to jump right in and go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how to make the K-Cup carrier for treats, but then I'm also going to make a couple of extra projects. So I'm just pulling out some ink here to ink up one of these circles. Came with these two large stamp sets, like I said, and then a bunch of dies. And I'm just going to ink this up twice. And this one says Mrs. Claus Cafe Hot Cocoa. I am not a coffee drinker. I enjoy hot cocoa though in the winter. I love to make that when it gets really cold where I live, which is really not that cold, to be honest. Where I am, it's not really cold. But I'm stamping this 2 times because I'm going to cut out a circle of one the die that came with the set, and then there's also a tag one, so you can see you've got some components here to make the boxes that I'll dig into in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and cut these images out. I'm going to use some mint tape here to hold it down so it doesn't shift, because I want it just so. I'm going to trim down that paper a little bit so I can run it through my machine. So when I've got everything in place, I'm going to run this through my Marquise machine. I have a review video on this machine if you've never seen it, or if you have any questions. I get questions about it a lot. I got around and finally made a video, so you can check that out. I'll link that in the description. But it's a great little machine. So you can see I've got my 2 pieces cut. One of those, the round one, will go on top of my K-Cup. So now I'm going to begin putting my box together. One thing that I always praise in my Diamond Press videos are the instructions. One, they love an interactive product, and they're very good at making those. They've had some interactive wheels, cards. They've had pull cards. They just have a lot of fun interactive products. And this would be another one in my opinion. But they are really good about creating pretty clear directions, and they're in color. So I am able to see them and follow them. So that's a really big plus that I always like to give a shout out to them in videos. So if you like to make things like this, you're not on your own. They provide you instructions with a lot of their stamp sets. So just so you know, that's how they do it. So I'm cutting out 2 of those box pieces, the sides. I need 2 of the backs, and I'm just kind of angling these things so that I can get all of these through my machine. So with 1 piece of cardstock, I'm able to cut all the pieces I need, and I have a little bit extra left over. So that's just a standard size of cardstock, 8.5 by 11. It took most of it. So I'm going to run these through. I'm going to have 2 of the cup holder backs with the little handles, 2 of the sides, and then I'm going to start stamping on them. And again, instructions are included. So I just need 1 more handle here, and I'll run that through my machine. And I've got the slimline folder out just so I can put more pieces of stuff in there. And that will take care of my actual box. Again, getting all of that out of 1 piece of cardstock. You can see it has that cute little handle on there. And you can make a double K-Cup holder. I'm just going to do a single one for those treats. I do need a little insert piece that's going to hold the little cup. And so I'm going to do that one out of red. And this is not the thickest. This red, I usually use a fairly thick cardstock. This one is not the thickest one I have. It's just what I had out, a little scrap piece. So I'm using that. It's probably 80 pound, I would say. But I think it held up pretty well for this job. Okay, some of these I've gone ahead and stamped. There are a ton of stamps in this set. And I've got the holly leaves here. I've already done one side. In the instructions, you're going to flip your box piece over. These are the sides. You're going to flip it over, so you're stamping the other side. So I'm just taking a second here and basically mirroring what I have done with the first piece. And there are 2 different holly leaves. There's one that's really close together, and then there's one that's kind of spread out. So I'm just stamping that onto my craft cardstock. And I will stamp it twice. One, my ink pad's a little dry, but two, I want to get a really good impression. Then I'll clean that up. And now I've got my front and back of my box, and you'll see how this is going to go together. So I'm just choosing my sentiments here. There is a large Santa face. There is a to from set, which is very fun. I like the font on this. There are also two cups. So there's a coffee cup, like a traditional coffee cup, and then one that's kind of maybe a frosted drink or something like that. So I'm just getting all of these lined up in my stamp positioner, and then I will go back to that same red ink and stamp that onto my panels. So you could heat emboss these if you wanted to. You could use darker ink like a black ink that is alcohol friendly, and you could color a little bit on there if you wanted to add some color to the Christmas treats holly that are on there. You could do that. So you have lots and lots of options. And I made 3 projects with this, but I'll be honest, I hardly scratched the surface. I probably could have made 10 things if I had had time. But it's getting to be the holiday season around my house, and other obligations are coming up, so my crafting time is coming to a close rapidly. I'll probably have a few more videos, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And then I will be closing down the craft room for a while, hoping to make some new videos in 2023. But we'll see. You never know what the future holds. Okay, so I've got everything stamped, and I've got my instructions, and I'm just going to start folding things in and then gluing them together. There's that insert that's going to go into my holder. So I'm just figuring out how to lay this down. So you're going to have the stamped side of that one panel. You will have that lying down, and then you're going to bring this stamped piece Fa La 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 Latte, which is so cute. And when I make boxes like these, I like to fold them as I'm gluing to make sure that I get them where I want them to go and that they're going to fold up correctly. They're always engineered beautifully, but you know, if you don't glue them right, there's only so much you can do with that. So you've got to kind of pay attention to where the line goes. So when I glue things like this, I like to fold them over and make sure they're in position where they need to be. And once you get one of these kind of projects done, they're very, very easy. And then I'll finish this last side. So I've got my box built, and then I'll just put on the other layer as well. So I've got my bone folder here, just making sure that things are glued down the way they should be. And you can see how this is kind of coming together. And you want to let that dry really well. But I'm going to cover the back of it so I've got a nice uniform look. And then you can write on the back of it. I had the to from on there. And so I will write on the back of that. And I'm going to glue the little handle too. If you're doing the double cup holder, you don't glue those panels together. You use them to kind of tie them together, but that's in the instructions if you want to make a double holder. Okay, everything is nice and dry for the most part on those, so now I'm ready to start closing up my box here. And I'm going to hold this one here. You can see those go together, and then I will pop all of these other pieces in. But I'm going to start with those 2 sides. Then I've got to fold down the tab, which is going to be for the front. Really quick and easy. This really did not take too long. The stamping honestly took the longest part, and you could work around that if you wanted to make a bunch of these and really not spend a lot of time. Just use a nice heavyweight cardstock, pattern paper I should say, which we all probably have in our craft stash, and that would save you some time. You could just cut them from pattern paper and then maybe make the tag that goes with it. You could do a bunch of these. All right, so I've got my cup here and I've got my insert. I'm going to pop that in there, and it fits really, really nice and snug. And then I've got the top to cover up my little cup of hot cocoa. It fits just right on there. And then I can set it into my holder. How cute is that? So easy and very, very festive. And then I can work on tying my tag on there. If you wanted to have the tag, you don't have to, but I wanted to show you the option. So I'm just going to tie this white twine around, and then I will tie that onto my box. It fits beautifully. So I'm just threading that through. I'll make it into a little knot. This is a fairly thin twine, so I'm going to double it up, and then I can tie it onto my box. After slipping that through there, then I can tie it on however I want to. I'm going to trim these ends off, make them a little more uniform, and then I can tie it on to my box. So cute. And it has that little handle, and it just fits in there perfectly. And I should have turned it on my side so you could see it, but I think you'll be able to see it in a second here, how I'm tying it on. I'm just going to do a little bow on here that would come off quite easily if someone wants to pull it off and keep it. And then I'll just tie that. And cute, cute, cute. Look at that. For some hot cocoa. Oh my goodness, these are so adorable and so easy. Really, really easy. Love the way that came together. Super, super easy. Okay, so I couldn't stop with just the cup holder because there's too much goodness in this set. So I'm going to make a couple of cards with the stamps. So I made a background here, just stamping a bunch of the images. They're the cocoa beans or the coffee beans, I guess they could be, coffee or cocoa beans. And then some chocolate chips there and a few hearts. And I went ahead and colored those with some of my Copic markers and my Spectrum Noir Triblend markers. And I'm going to create my background for that. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I pulled a little die, this smaller die that kind of looks like a ticket. Die is from the Ultimate Card Making Collection. I think it was a Today Special a while ago from Diamond Press. I picked it up recently. And so I am going to use that to cut out my sentiment all about how much I appreciate you. Words cannot express how much I appreciate you. So cute. And then I will take my die here and run it through my machine. But there were a bunch of dies in that Ultimate Card Making Collection. And so I haven't really used it yet. And I thought these would be some fun ones to pull out and try. All right, I'm going to run this through my marquee. And of course it cuts beautifully. I always have a great cut with them. And then I can add this to my card. How cute. So you don't have to make just the cup holders. You can do some other things with it too. And I always like to try and stretch myself and make some extra things using the stamp set. Because I am a stamper at heart. And so any opportunity I get to do extra stamping makes me happy. All right, I'm ready to glue this onto a dark piece of chocolate cardstock. I picked a tone that was similar to those coffee beans. And then I will add this to a little bit of a lighter A2 size card base that had some similar tones to my chocolate chips. And then I will add my sentiment to the front. And I'd pop that up with a little bit of foam to give it some dimension. You could leave it just flat on there if you wanted to for baling. And that is going to be it on this one. You could add some shimmer or some glitter glue or something like that. I thought about it and then I decided not to. I feel like I've been using it a lot in my videos, so people might be tired of my shiny, shiny stuff. Okay, moving on. I went ahead and stamped these fun images and colored them with my Triblend markers. I use my Spectrum Noir Triblend markers on this one. I'm going to tape these down and then I'm going to run them through my machine. And I can put together some cards with them. I love the little like frappe cup or whatever you call it. I don't drink those kind of drinks. I drink soft drinks. I'm not a hot drink person except for the cocoa. And so I don't know what you call those, frappe or something, a cold iced beverage. Anyway, those who know, right? Okay, let me get these through the machine, and then I will put them together in a couple of other ways. Okay, I love that mint tape too. It's great for holding down my images into place when I run them through my machine. So I'm going to take the little coffee cup and I'm going to stamp a sentiment on there. There's one that I noticed was small enough to fit on there. Thanks a latte. I'm sure it was intentional, but it actually works out beautifully. So that's an added bonus. So you can decorate your coffee cup with a word of thanks. We can never say thanks enough in our lives, I don't think. And that's just a great way to give a gift to someone. And I'm going to add a little bit of Copic marker. I've got a C1 marker here, a very light gray. It's going to be hard to see on camera, but I'm just doing that to add a little bit of definition to my image. Again, you can see it a little better in person. I am going to pull out my glitter glue here. I think that this little frosted drink should have some sparkles in it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sparkles to Santa as well, to his hat, the little puff, and the holly leaves. Okay, so I've got this Ho 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 stencil. This was part of, it was a stencil collection that they released recently. I think there were 8 holiday stencils in there, and I loved the Ho Ho Ho. I have never used their stencils yet. I got another set that had some of their stencils, but I've not had a chance to use it. So this is my first time using them. It seems to be a really nice quality. And I'm just going to add some greens on here. So I'm pulling out my Distress inks to pick out which colors I want to use. I'm going to have a little bit of variety here. And I've got mowed lawn for sure. And then my second choice is going to be pine needles, which is a little brighter color, a little different tone of green. But that's what I'm going to use. Mowed lawn is used quite a bit in my household. It is my go-to green in the Distress line this time of year, a great holiday color. But I like the pine needles too. It has kind of a blue tint to it. So it's just a little bit of a different shade. All right, let me clean that one up and then I'll move on to the pine needles. And I am blending on Bristol cardstock. This is smooth Bristol cardstock, which is my favorite blending cardstock these days. I use it all the time for these kind of applications because it just blends beautifully. It gives you a second to move the color, and I just have a great success with it. Okay, so now I can do the reveal on there. How cute. Love it, love it, love it. Now this is a Distress ink, so it's a dye ink. It soaks in pretty well and fairly quickly. But sometimes I like to go ahead and put some heat on there to make sure when I have a big panel of color like this that I didn't have any that's still wet. With the oxides, I find that I do need to heat those more often. They just take a little bit longer to soak in because they're a pigment ink. So that's just a tip. If you're going to be working with them right away, just be careful and make sure that they're dry so you don't get anything smearing on a big image like that. Here's another die that I pulled out from that Ultimate collection that I thought would fit the Santa's face really well. And I love the little detail on it, on the little sides of it. Lots and lots of fun. Okay, I'm going to apply this directly to my red card base. And then I will add my circle, which it kind of almost has like a little doily look to it, but it's so pretty. Just a little bit different. And then I will pop up my Santa face on there. And he is perfect for the Ho 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 stencil background. So here's another way to use one of the pieces from that stamp set. So cute. I just love that little face. All right, so those were the projects that I was able to make. There is that cup holder for your little treats, your little K-cups in the holiday season, and you could use that year round, just use some different stamps with it. But this one is holiday themed. And then there's that background, that thank you card, and the ho 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 Christmas. So if you got this set, be sure to pull it out, give it a try. It's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe and have a great day.